All right, welcome to the show. I'm excited to be here. My man behind the camera, I know he's excited to be here. We're ready to kind of get this first episode of our podcast rolling. My name's Rook McConnell, ex-professional athlete, full-time youth coach. Been in the game a very, very long time. I think I've seen it all, but lived to tell some stories about it, and that's kind of what this podcast is. I'm going to bring some raw, real craziness to you guys of parents, of youth sports, of building our community, kind of all the things that have happened the last 17 years through my run in this. Hopefully you guys get a little bit excited about it. My man behind the camera is Dayton B. Every now and again you might hear him rodeoing in his chair over there. We're balling on a budget in here, so nobody has really nice new chairs. I think as this podcast gets going, you're going to kind of see some transformation of our little room here, as we kind of figure out what we're doing. It's definitely a learning process. We're enjoying it, and so we're just kind of rolling with it and figuring it all out on the run. So, once I've wanted to do this for a really, really long time and have a podcast. Just by chance, me and Dayton kind of talked about it a little bit, and he said, something he wanted to do, and so, me being the dancing bear on this side of the camera and him being the brains on that side of the camera, we've created Silent Bleachers, Loud Opinions. And I think it's going to be a good podcast. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to be able to bring a lot to the table, and just tell some cool, fun stories. I know Dayton cringes every time I talk about some of my stories, and he always jokes, and he's "Are you really going to say that?" Yeah, we're going to go unmuted. We're going to bring this podcast to you unmuted, raw, real. If it offends you, I might be talking about you. You never know. And so we're going to kind of jump right in and get into this deal and see where it leads us. Trying to come up with a name and figure out what we were going to do. Silent Bleachers, Loud Opinions, I think it kind of hit exactly what youth sports has become these days. I think everybody in the stands has an opinion. Everybody in the stands has something to say, and they're usually not real quiet about it. So as a coach, you're standing on the sideline. You really don't get to hear. You really don't pay attention and hear because you're focused on the game. And, afterwards you always hear stories. So-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. And it makes sitting in the bleachers sometimes harder than I think what the kids are going through out on the field. And so for us with this podcast, that was our big, our big idea and our big thought process in going into this podcast was really bringing that side up. I think a lot of entitled parents feel like they can do and say whatever they want, and there's really no consequences to it. And so I think at least bringing some of it to light may make at least one of you guys think about something next time you're in the stand. So that's definitely what we want to do. I know, Dayton behind the camera, I can't get him to put a mic over there, so he'll talk to us. That may be a transition as we get going in this podcast, get him talking a little bit. I think we're going to start off, and the best way to start off is just kind of tell one of the most memorable stories I have of being a coach on the sideline. Every single episode, we're going to bring you something new. Every episode, we're going to bring you something raw and real and a good story. But this is one that has always stuck in my head. This is one that's always kind of stuck with me. Whenever my middle son was third, fourth grade, we had this kid on our team. He wasn't the most outspoken kid, but he had two moms. He had awesome two moms. One of them was pretty quiet. One of them was pretty outspoken. They were some of the coolest ladies ever. I still, in my world today, I whether I tow their car or something, I'll speak to them, and it always brings a smile to my face to get to see them and talk to them. But I'm gonna tell you a funny story about them. So you can only imagine two moms. There's a little estrogen rolling through that house, and they're not gonna take a whole lot of crap off too many people. And we're getting ready to play a game. Getting ready to play this game, and the team we're getting ready to play is a team, and man, they do a lot of chanting. I think we've all seen those teams that during weigh-ins they're chanting, in warm-ups they're chanting, coaches talking crap to the other team, trying to intimidate them, and that was really what this team is they were very loud, very outspoken. The crazy thing about this team that we played is their fans got into it just as much as the kids got into it, and some of the moms knew every single chant that them little kids would say something, moms would respond, and they would say something, moms would clap or dads would clap or whatever. And so very loud, very crazy. And in our stands, Where we play youth football is everybody sits on the same side. I know it's crazy. It's how we do it. We have a concession stand on one side, not on the other, so everybody packs on the home side. So our fans are always sitting amongst each other, and one of these moms has this big long horn. You can blow in this horn, and it's really loud and kind of projects out on the field, so little Billy can hear his mom blowing her horn, and he knows his mom's up there. And well, she gets to where she's blowing it towards our crowd, and one of these moms has yelled at her a couple times and told her to stop. The game's coming towards the end of it, and so our fans get up and they're kind of walking out, and I think it had been a little jawing back and forth, and this lady takes that horn and she looks right at one of our fans and she blows that horn right in her face, and without hesitation, our fans walking out carrying her bleacher seat, and she whaps that lady in the face with her bleacher seat. It was awesome. I mean, the crowd, you can only imagine, everybody just kind of comes at each other. And so it got a little bit crazy. Us as coaches on the sideline, we're turning around looking. We see the mayhem going on. Really have no idea exactly where we got them. We could kind of hear them a little bit fussing, but we had no idea what got to that point. And so after the game's over, we all kind of walk and everybody exits the same spot of the field. Again, I don't know why. Put everybody back together after a game. And they kind of go at it a little bit more, standing over on the side. So we're talking, we're asking what went on. And we find out that she smacked her in the face with her bleacher chair. So this mom was already one of my favorite. And that moment made her by far one of the coolest parents ever. Now, please don't ever do that. Like that's not cool. Don't hit somebody in the face with a bleacher chair. You're taking that so your butt has comfort when it sets. You ain't taking that as a weapon. But the fact that it happened was hilarious to us. And again, that will always be one of my most memorable moments as a coach. I have a ton of them. I'm going to share a bunch of them throughout these episodes with you. But that is definitely one of my all-time best. Is the lady blowing the horn in her face and her hitting her in the face with a chair. And that's always the good, bad, and ugly of fans. And I think we all have stories of fans in the stands at youth sports, but it definitely is one of the better ones for me is her getting whapped in the face with that bleacher chair. Great moment. Man, after some of our crazy stories, I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit of parents. We'll talk a little bit. One of the things I want to bring this podcast is just some of the different things that as coaches or as I'm the president of our youth football program and president of our youth wrestling program and president of the high school touchdown club. So I really get to deal with parents from the first grade level, really all the way up to senior year. And so there's a lot of different. We got a lot of different what you shouldn't do's as well. Yes, that was my wife sending me a text. Forgot to put my phone on vibrate, so she whistles at me to let me know that so that I don't not answer her text messages. One of the things that I want to talk about is, in youth sports, you pay for youth sports, right? And so that's the only way you can make it work. We can talk about that later. I imagine there'll be an episode down the road of what money is in youth sports, because the old saying, and every time somebody on social media posts anything about youth sports money, the first thing people say is, who's getting the money? Who's stealing the money? That's always the first thing. So that's hilarious, because if you only knew how much of our own money we put into it to cover some of the things that we do for kids. So we'll talk about that later. I'm not going to get off that rant. But one of the things about parents spending money on youth sports, in a parent's mind, a lot of times they have a bigger say in what happens on that team or happens on that softball diamond or happens in that volleyball court or soccer or whatever it is. They feel like they have a big say in that because they spent money for their kid to do that. In reality, the coach that's actually putting the effort in is doing it for free. A lot of times. You have some of your AAU and some of your softball and some of those things where, yes, you're paying coaches. A lot of times they don't have a kid on the team and you pay them a little bit different. I'm talking about your more league-based youth sport. So we'll talk about kind of our youth football program. And when parents pay money, they feel like they have a big say in what happens on the field, whether it's what kids are getting to play, what position their kid plays, how many plays their kid gets, how long practice is going to go. That's always the best to me. is when parents jump on social media after practice and talk about they were out there for an hour and 75, 65, 55, 45 minutes. Like, come on. We're practice. We're not going to be done until the kids are done, right? Until we get what we need to get done that day. And so, that's always funny, the entitlement, I guess you could call it, of parents feeling like they have a great big say in it. No, actually, you paid your money for your kid to go play that sport. Go sit in a lawn chair. Go sit in your car on a hill. But the biggest thing is be at practice. Be around practice. When parents always want to come up and they want to complain about playing time for their kid, as a president, we always have clinics for our coaches, our youth coaches. And one of the first things I always tell my youth coach, when a parent comes up to you and asks about their kid's playing time, the first question out of your mouth needs to be back to that parent is, do you come to practice? Are you at practice every single day? Because if you're not, you have no idea what little Jimmy's doing at practice. We're over here learning our plays and little Jimmy's chasing crickets. We're over here learning how to tackle and little Jimmy's chewing his bubble gum, getting it out of his hair, right? So if you're not at practice, you have no idea what your son is doing and why he's not playing. If a parent says, yes, yeah, I'm at practice every day. Okay, are you on your phone or are you watching? Because if you're not paying attention to what your son's doing, you have no idea why we can't play him, whether it's for his own safety, whether it's because he doesn't know the plays, because he's new, he's a fresh new athlete that is trying to learn the game and understand the game, learn me as a coach, and he just hasn't unleashed his potential yet. There's so many reasons that your kid's not playing. I promise you there's 0.1% of coaches that's not playing your kid because they don't like you as a parent. It ain't about you. It's about your kid. And if your kid's not ready to play, he's not going to play. At every age in youth football, youth wrestling, youth basketball, youth whatever it is, kids grow at different levels. And you're going to have some kids that in first grade, man, they're ready to rock. They're on the field and they're sledgehammering people when they tackle them. And you have another first grader that is seriously wanting to nickname the cricket on the ground and has no care in the world to put that 5-pound helmet on. He looks like a bobblehead. They're just built different. When they hit middle school, I promise you that same cricket chasing kid might be your stud on that middle school field. And that kid that was the sledgehammer might not even get playing time in high school. It's funny, kids always go at different, but so many parents can only see today, what my kid's not getting today. I paid all this money for my kid to play, he should be playing. He's not ready to play, and it's okay. If your kid comes to practice every day and he's not screaming and hollering and you don't have to drag him to the car, he's enjoying coming. Enjoy him being there. Leave him alone. But as a parent, you give up your right to have that big of an opinion if you don't take the certification, do the background check, and do the things that need to be done to be that coach. If you're not on that field as a coach, you get to sit on the other side of the fence, in the lawn chair, in your car, in the air conditioner, whatever you want to do, but that gives up that right for you to have a whole lot to say. Yes, it's your kid. 100% it's your kid. But when you've brought him to that practice and you've paid to be a part of that sport, a part of that team, a little bit of you've given your right over to that coach to do what he feels is best for your son. And so as a parent, I understand that's hard because you dictate and you control everything that happens in your kid's life. But when you put your kid in a youth sport, you have to be okay with what that coach does. And you have to remember it's not about today. You have to remember it's about down the road. It's about who they're going to be in high school. I can't tell you how many times I've seen the best athlete on the field that can absolutely change a game any moment he wants to. When he hits high school as a senior, he's not even on the JV field. He's not even on junior varsity. But first grade to eighth grade, there was not a better athlete on the field. There was nobody better. And when he hits high school, he can't do it. My oldest son, nobody ever believes me. My oldest son is 6'6", 320. He's an offensive lineman for Vanderbilt. And nobody ever believes me that we won the Super Bowl back in like third and fourth grade, and he was my tailback. At some point in like eighth, ninth grade, it was like somebody stuck a feed bag in front of him and hooked a trailer to him. He got really slow and got huge. And he was no longer that tailback. I think he still to this day wishes he was. He might dream at night of getting a ball handed off to him and running up the middle. But that wasn't in his cards. And so whatever they are when they're younger has nothing to do with who they're going to be in their sport. One of our starting guards in youth football here in Choctaw, a kid named Evan, he gets into middle school and he's a starting tailback. All through 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, he was our starting guard. He could pull with the best of them. He could kick out with the best of them. And when he hit middle school, he didn't grow anymore. He got a little bit faster. And so my whole point of that is as a parent, you give that right to that coach to do what's best for your son right now. We have no idea what they're going to be tomorrow. We have no clue what they're going to be down the road. But you as a parent have to be okay. It's hard. I understand that. And you've paid that hard-earned money to put your kid in that sport, but you don't have a say in it. You have to be okay with whatever happens, and you have to be okay with your kid getting out there and giving effort. Because when you're not, your kid feels that. He sees you whining and crying to coach. And now, number one, he thinks he can continue chasing crickets and not have to work hard. And because mom's going to go or dad's going to go talk to coach and they're going to fix it. Well, then when your kid does get out there on the field, he has no idea what to do. 2, he has no care to be there. And we're trying to run a play and he's not blocking the guy in front of him and my tailback's getting killed. And so as a coach, you are always doing what's in the best interest of that kid and that team. Something Jake Corbin says, and you guys will hear me quote that dude all the time because I think that guy is as passionate as it gets. But something he always says is, I will never set a kid up for failure. And the first time I ever heard him say that, it hit really hard because as a coach, I'm never going to put your son in a situation to fail. I always want him to succeed. And you know what? If your son's not as talented as another kid, but he is fighting every single day and he is pulling your toenails, tying your shoes together, doing whatever he can to block you, that kid's going to get on the field somewhere, sometimes. And we will always, as coaches, we will always put your kid in that best situation because I'm not trying to get your kid hurt. That's the last thing I want to be known for is the coach that throws the kid out there that's not prepared and he gets laid out and gets hurt. In a game, if your kid's turning and running and outrunning the running back to their end zone, he's not ready for football. And so I can't put him out there very often. So we as coaches, you have to do what's best for that kid. And getting him to put that helmet on every year, that's all that matters. And that's another thing you'll hear me say. And I know my coaches get probably ridiculously tired of hearing me say, the ultimate goal is put that helmet on next year. As a president, I have fired youth coaches often. Yes, it's a volunteer position. Yes, you can be fired from a volunteer position. If the majority of your team does not want to put their helmet on next year, you should not be coaching youth football. I'm just telling you that right now. If youth, any sport, if they don't want to put their batting helmet back on, if they don't want to put that volleyball in their hand, they don't want to put that baseball bat in their hand, they don't want to put that softball bat in their hand, whatever sport it is, if they don't want to do it the following year, a lot of times it's because of the coach. I think some of your best athletes are walking the hall not playing a sport because of a youth coach. And so, again, my whole point of that long rant is, as a parent, you have to be okay with that coach's decisions. And yes, it's hard, but be supportive of your kid. Understand your kid's ability. Understand what your kid can and can't do. And your experience as a parent is a whole lot better. Pay your money. Let him be a part of that youth sport. And let that coach do what that coach does. If you really want to make a difference, volunteer. Take your background check. Get your certification. Get your HEAT certification and all the other certifications we make our coaches do to have control and to be a part of your kid's sports journey. Go do that. And I promise you, we have less coaches now than we've ever had. And it's because of you as a parent. It's your fault that we have less coaches. It's your fault we have less officials. That's a whole nother story we'll get into at some point in time in a later episode, as we'll talk about how officials are treated. But as a parent, again, pay your money, sit back, enjoy your son's ride, enjoy your son learning and being passionate for their sport. You know what I mean? Yeah, even, your daughter, your son and daughter. You guys will hear me say son. I have 3 boys. And so I go with son a lot. But your son or daughter, no matter what it is, no matter what sport it is, just put them in it and be happy for their ride. Be okay with their journey. I want to talk a little bit of community. I'm gonna kind of go into what we here in Choctaw and how we've built our community. I definitely as this podcast goes, we're going to talk to other people, and we're going to focus on a lot of things that go on in our community. When I talk about community, I don't mean like the city of Choctaw. When I say community, I mean the youth to middle school to high school sports in our town. The community that sports has brought to our town, what has shaped our values as a community so a few years ago, the old high school coach here at Choctaw was awesome. Loved the youth, was really good in giving us a fields, and we played at the middle school and things that the youth coordinator at that time really didn't. His vision was not the overall picture, and so he really hadn't spent a lot of time with the high school coach in talking to him about what he wants and talking to him about what would help develop our program. As everybody knows, Choctaw for the longest time was everybody's homecoming game. If in high school, when I was in high school, I was a Bomber, black and gold. I'll always be black and gold. But we used to always know our homecoming game was going to be Choctaw. Choctaw was 1-9 every year. I was a Nakoma Park Falcon. Shout out Falcons. I was a Nakoma Park Falcon back in the day. And after freshman year, my parents moved me to Midwest City. My world was football. I wrestled here for Choctaw. Choctaw was dominant in wrestling. I don't think, there was very many years that they weren't number one or number two. And so I also wrestled, but my ultimate goal was to go play college football. And so my dad knew that. My family knew that. We moved to Midwest City for football. My brother played at Choctaw. They were always 1-9. And so, again, that's why we moved. And whenever I moved back here, so we were gone after high school, go on, played, had my fun, had my career. We ended up retiring, going back to my wife's hometown or Pittsburgh. And then a little while later, ended up moving back here. We moved back here. I went to the Bombers. I went to my old school, and they weren't real inviting of, allowing alumni on the sideline, allowing alumni to come watch. And so we just kind of moseyed on a little bit further out to the east. And, we met with Coach Dilbeck, met with the guys that ran Choctaw and Nakoma Park youth football at that time. They were separate. Choctaw and Nakoma Park were separate in youth football at that time. We met with them. They were really inviting. Coach Dilbeck was very open arms. I mean, why would he not? I had a couple boys. He knew I had played football a little bit. So, the odds are my kids are going to play football. And so he was very open. We went a couple years, and we ended up losing's the word I'm going to use, with our youth director. And we're all kind of standing around as coaches, as a couple people. And everybody looks at me and they're like, hey, you played football. Why don't you be the new president? And, my wife loves me because I just volunteer for crap all the time. And I don't really have that no button. So I said yes, jumped in. A couple months later, actually a year later, Jake Corbin was hired as Choctaw High School head coach. We knew each other in high school, and I think that was like on a Tuesday. Like Wednesday, I call him, and we plan a dinner. It was Wednesday night or Thursday night, like 48 hours later. And we're sitting and we're eating, and Jake thinks I'm taking him, we're going to eat because he thinks I'm wanting him to hire me as a high school coach. And although that is still to this day my dream, I would love to be a coach. In the state of Oklahoma and the financial paychecks, I can't make that happen. My wife enjoys shopping too much. So I could never make that happen. But my point of going with Jake is I wanted to talk community. I wanted to talk youth football. And I knew that you cannot build a successful youth football program without the blessing of the high school. Well, Jake did much more than just gave me his blessing. Jake opened up his playbook. He opened up his huddle account. He opened up the high school field for the first time to us. He opened up anything we needed. And sitting there that night, we kind of come up with a neat little plan from first grade to 12th grade and how we, what my vision was. And he kind of threw in some of his vision and his experiences of where he's came from. And we kind of built this game plan, and we knew it was going to take a little bit. We built this game plan of what it was going to take to put Choctaw where we knew Choctaw could be. And it was going to start with the high school and the youth coming together. And so at that point, I no longer wanted it to be Nakoma Park and Choctaw. And so I took Nakoma Park and I flipped it and made it Choctaw Youth Football. We left the little league that we were playing in, and we joined a league up in Tulsa, a bigger league, and there were some 6A teams here in the city as well. It needed to be moved. It needed to be put on a bigger scale. We didn't need to play small school only. You know, we wanted to play some small schools, but we need to play big schools. And so we made that jump. Jake was all for that jump. And one of the biggest things he did when he opened up his playbook to us was he opened up the access to his coaches to us. And so I tell everybody all the time, the biggest way to build your community in youth sports is to have access to the high school coach. I don't care if it's Coach Mudgeon in softball, if it's Jake in football. I don't care, Jermaine in basketball, like whatever it is. If you have access to those coaches, your youth program is going to be a lot better. And so Jake understood that. He knew it. Man, we built a plan and we put it in effect. Took us a year or two. Took us a couple years. And once we started running coaches clinics on, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever nights of the week, the high school coaches would come up and they would put on a clinic for just our youth coaches. So we learned their terminology. We learned their playbook. We learned their plays. We knew what they were going to teach in high school. Again, the ultimate goal here, you guys, is to put that helmet on the next year. The ultimate goal is to put on that gold helmet. And in Choctaw, that matters. At Carl Albert, it's the red helmet. At Midwest City, it's that black helmet. At whatever school you go to, whatever your community is, those kids can't wait to put that helmet on that big boys are wearing on Friday night. And having access to what it takes to get to that point made our life awesome. And so Jake doing these clinics for our coaches, now our kids are speaking the same language the high school kids are speaking. The coolest thing in the world is sitting in the stands and having a bunch of little kids around you, and your high school coach is throwing his signals out on the field, and your kid sitting next to you is like, "Hey, Dad, watch this. It's a sweep. Hey, Dad, watch this. It's a screen. They're going to go deep to whoever," and that's the play they run. That is so awesome to me, and to me, that is what builds our community. Our little guys at times are in that locker room on Friday nights. They go to the locker room before games. Sometimes they go to the locker room at halftime. They feel like they're part of that team. So when they play on Saturdays, in their mind, it's their game day. It's their Friday night lights, baby. They are playing. And in the reason that it is that way is because of the community that we've built through the high school and through youth sports. Our athletic directors are awesome. We got a new one this year, Hessman, that's here for a long, long time. Not this year, a couple years ago, we got a new one with Goolsby. They also understand, and they allow us to have some of that access. And it makes our life so much easier as youth coaches, as youth president, because we know our kids are running the same system, the same program, in the same facilities as that high school program is. And that is what, in my opinion, has brought Choctaw to where they are. Unbelievable job of our high school coaches. I'm not going to take anything away from our high school coaches. I think we have some of the best coaches over the last 8 years that any high school could put together. And the proof is in the pudding. I can't tell you how many of them have went on to be head coaches in other places. But the biggest deal is Choctaw is no longer that homecoming game. I promise you, when people get their schedule now, they see where that Choctaw game's at. And that Choctaw game's nowhere near their homecoming game. At least they hope that it's not their homecoming game. And I believe the reason for that is because of what we've done in the youth program has built into that high school program. Me and Jake talk about it all the time. The last team that won the state championship, they were second graders. They were second graders whenever Jake took over. From second grade to 12th grade, it took that long, and they bought in year after year after year, and they won a state championship last year. One year, they got to the game, lost a little bit. A couple years later, they got to the game, barely lost. They kept just inching closer and closer and closer to that gold ring, that gold ball, and I believe that was because our youth program taught them, and they knew what was expected of them moving up. That community that was built, that legacy that was built before them, paved that way for them, and a lot of that goes to the access that we built with the high school coaches. And so as you watch this, and yes, a lot of people, especially if you play against Choctaw, you're not gonna love that I'm talking about Choctaw, but put that in perspective of your program. I know that I've talked to a ton of other youth coaches, of youth presidents, all over our area. I get to meet these guys. I get to meet and talk to these ladies. And one of the things I tell them all the time is go meet your high school coach. Go talk to your high school coach. That's what we did. You want to know how we run such a successful program. Yes, it's the people we have in place that run our program, but bigger than that is it's a community that we've built around our program. Whether it's our wrestling program, whether it's our football program, what we have built is from first grade to 12th grade, and I think that is what has made us successful. And so when you start looking at your youth program and you start kind of trying to figure out how you can make your program better, the first thing you need to find out is, do you have access to that high school? Because your youth program exists to be a high school kid one day. High school female athlete, high school male athlete, high school whatever athlete you want to be. That youth program is there, and we are trying to build you to get to that point. That's the ultimate goal, is to play your sport in high school. The ultimate goal is not to play your sport in first grade. It's to play your sport in high school. I'm going to get into, at some point in time, I promise I'm going to wear some of y'all out with the specializing in sports. Drives me nuts. We'll talk about that. For right now, I'm only talking, mainly talking football. It's because it's who I am. If I got up here and started talking to you guys about water polo, as fat as I am, y'all would know I would sink. So I wouldn't be able to relate at all with water polo. You might be able to do it from first grade to 12th grade, I don't know. But with football itself, the best thing to do is have that access to that high school, that access to building your community around the knowledge and the thought process that first grade to 12th grade should all be headed in the same direction. That's your community wisdom for the day. Now we're going to jump into our guest segment. We're going to throw in our first guest. What up?
What's up?
Not right now. Just wait.
When?
Talk to you. No, you can't. Let my chat. What do you want it to do?
Nothing. I hate how it's like, okay, that's good.
If you don't want to bend over, is that what there you go. You feel better?
Yeah.
This is like all up in my grill right now. All right, we good? Is that good? Holy shnikes. What do we got going on over here? All right, so with our first episode, you have to, you got to definitely believe I'm going to bring in my kid as the first guest. And this was kind of a last minute deal. We really didn't have time to ask for another guest. So Rook just kind of got stuck to it. What's up, man? You glad to be here?
Yeah. Wait, mic check. Is it working?
That mic works. Dayton B back there. He's got it figured out.
All
He's a man. You glad to be here?
Yeah.
Excited to be guest number one?
Yeah.
All right. So what have you been up to, man? What have you been doing? What have you been doing all day today?
Playing PlayStation. I had PC this morning.
What is PC for everybody? Tell everybody what PC is.
PC is like it's performance course. It's like morning workouts. We go in the field and then we go in the weight room. And then I've been taking the boating license test all day.
You know what's called boating ed?
Yeah.
What's wrong? You're not doing very good?
No.
You struggling?
It's just so long. None of it's about like anything it's all about sea crafts.
Yeah, it's funny. Rook, he called me at one point today and he's like, Dad, half this thing's about boats. I'm not going to be driving a boat. I'm like, well, you have to get through it, man. And then at one point he's like, well, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT for the answers.
I don't know it.
Good thing he hasn't. We're still 8 hours into it and he hasn't passed it yet, so at least we know that. So, hey, all right, so this podcast, Rook, we've been talking a little bit of community. We kind of told some crazy stories. We've been talking a little bit of youth football and community. You're out of your youth football days, and so you're kind of into the big, mighty middle school, 7th grade football year. All right, so you kind of finished your little stint, your little career in youth football. Your 1st grade through 6th grade. You kind of big 7th grade now.
Yeah.
So whenever I kind of throw to you your youth football career, what's one memory that just kind of pops up to you?
I think it was 3rd grade year, and we were playing the Edmond Memorial. We were playing like Edmond Bulldogs, and we're beating them like 30-something to 0 at halftime. and the coach like walks across the field and is telling him that half of his kids are wanting to quit. They don't even want to be on the field, and he asked my dad if he could take all of our good players out. So we had like all of our we had a lot of like the kids that played the normal positions that we just put them in random positions. Like at one point we had a lineman at safety and a kid that had no clue what he was doing at quarterback, and they still ended up losing. But
That's good. That's funny you remember that. In that particular game, I'll jump in a little bit with you. And that when that coach come over, that coach was wanting to quit. He was wanting to call it, wanting to quit the game be over. He had a very new team. I believe this was fourth grade. He had a very new team. We had a team that had been together since first grade, and we're pulling guard and tackle counters and things like that, and they're struggling to get the handoff off. So, it was a pretty ugly game at first, and just talking to that coach, he was ready to quit. He was ready to throw the towel in, and I felt like that wasn't fair to his kids or our kids because we wanted to play a complete game. So instead of being okay with him just stopping right there, I kind of communicated with that coach and just told him, hey, let's figure this out. How can we make this work to where we can completely play a game? That way your kids aren't cheated out of half a game, my kids aren't cheated out of half a game, and kind of come up with, we would pull some of our kids out. We would pull some of our kids back. We would give, some of our other kids, would put them in different positions. I had a really dominant lineman back then, and on defense, I pulled him all the way back to safety and kind of held onto his jersey a little bit so he couldn't go. He was a little bit mad at me, but that gave their offensive line a chance to get the ball back to the quarterback and complete a handoff and get some runs. And because to me, that's what it's about, right? To me, it's about the kids getting to play the game. It's about the kids enjoying the game of football, right? We're going to put that helmet on next year. And that not just for Choctaw, I wanted that same thing for the opposite team. I want that same thing for the opposing team. And so for me, it was what can we figure out to finish this game? How can we figure out to get your kids to enjoy the last half of this game? And I'll never forget after that game was over, man, the kids were high-fiving each other. Their kids were laughing, having fun. Their coach come up and shook our hand and just kind of thanked us for that. And I reminded him that this is bigger than the game of football. This is bigger than that school board. I can promise you we've won some games. We've won a championship. We've been in a lot of championships. For me, that's never what it was about. For me, it's always about the game, and so that's a good story. I'm glad that's one of the big ones for you because that one is that was a good one for me. I remember that really well. So going into seventh grade, right? You're no longer going to have Dad out there on the coaching staff. You're no longer going to have Hunter's dad out there or Jet's dad out there. Imagine Jake being a high school coach, and the way our community works is our high school coaches have a lot to do with our middle school program as well. Again, we've built it from first grade to 12th grade, and so Jake will still be out there quite a bit, but not having some of us that you've had, I don't want to call it a security blanket, but at the same time, the familiarity of us dads as coaches. Are you a little nervous about that? Are you a little worried about it?
Not really, because he never coached me in my position, and he's always just let the other coaches coach me, and so I don't think it'll be a problem with me. But I know a lot of the other kids, and I don't think he'll have a problem with not being on the field. But I know a couple of the other dads would definitely have a problem.
Gonna struggle
because he's always tried to tell the other coaches that coach their kids just to let them be, because they'll end up doing perfectly fine without you. And that's what he's done with me. He coached D-line, he coaches O-line. I play skill positions, so it's sometimes he coaches me on things, but he doesn't tell me the right things, because sometimes I'll be in a game and he'll try to tell me the route I'm running, and it's not right, and I know what I'm doing. And then he'll get mad at me when it's right because he doesn't know.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
So it's just he just always lets me do my thing, or let the other coaches do the thing and coach me. So I don't think I'll have a problem with it, but I know a couple of other kids and parents will definitely have problems with that.
Yeah, that's always funny to me is and not just with our team and our group, but it's always funny to me with parents that have always coached. You know, I'm on my third kid. I've got a son, 21. He plays for Vanderbilt. I've got one, 19 at Pittsburgh State. And so I've had a couple different teams, and I've always helped every one of them. And there's always dads that coach them. And it's always funny at the end of sixth grade, and even with our little group, with our coaches in our little group right now, we have that conversation afterwards. It was like, what are we going to do next year, fellas? And again, me being on my third kid, I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm going to go sit in the stands. We're going to sit in the stands, and now, you know, we get to sit and we get to watch what we've helped build out there on the field, and it's always hard. Every single year, I would say all the way until they hit about 9th, 10th grade, it's always hard for that youth coach to watch a team they built and kids that they taught go do it without them. You know, we put a lot of time and effort into our kids. We put a lot of time and effort, not into our own personal kids, but into our group of kids. And it's really hard for some, you know, for any parent in any sport, not just football, but it's really hard to say, okay, I've done my job, go on. It's no different than you watch a mom leave college campus when she drops her son off and she cries. I know mine cried 12 hours home from Minnesota the first time we dropped Kate off, because you have built them, you have raised them, and now you're going to send them off, and you just have to hope that you've done a good job of making them little men or little, you know, or women. And it's no different for us in putting these kids in 7th grade. We have to hope we've done a good enough job that, you know, they're going to be coachable for their middle school coaches, and they're going to fight hard, and they're going to give ultimate effort for their middle school coaches. That's good. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch it. What are you most excited about getting out of youth and getting into real football and school ball? Games are going to be on Tuesdays, right? It's going to be way different for you. What are you most excited about thinking about 7th grade?
I don't know. I've been thinking I get to play with like all my other friends that were on the other teams, because you have multiple teams in one grade if you have so many kids. We all get to play together and have fun together instead of when we used to play against each other. Also, I like playing on Tuesday nights now, because now I can go and watch my brothers and not have a bye week on Saturday and leave Friday night after a high school game.
We did a lot of that, huh?
Yeah.
We did a lot of long 12-hour overnights.
I like that I get to go watch the college football games and have time for that. And, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, excited, huh?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, getting to have your weekends back. That is, I think as a parent, you know, obviously I don't get to enjoy that. But I think as most parents, one of the greatest things that they're excited about is they get their weekends back. Their kids now play games on Tuesday nights, and they get their weekends back. And so that's always a good thing as a parent when your kid gets into 7th grade as well. Man, you got any, what else? You got anything you want to talk about? Let's let the guest ask, do you have a question for me?
Me? Do I have a question for you?
By the way, he had no idea that he was going to be our guest number one. We didn't even know we were going to bring guests on. And me and my man Dayton B, in just our when I tell you guys this has been a fun learning process for him and me, it has evolved many nights in how we're going to do this, and trial and error, and so we just kind of figured, you know what, we ought to have a guest on every week. And so Rook kind of got to be the guinea pig, so he had no idea. So I'm kind of throwing all this at him without him knowing much. So I've given you a little bit of time. You come up with any question?
What's your most excited part about starting this, your own unmuted silent bleachers podcast? What was your main point?
You know, I think it needed to be brought to light. I think so many things are done and said, and so many parents. Good question, by the way. Yeah, I know. That was a really good question. And I think so many parents, there are no consequences, right? So there are no consequences to the way they act, the things they say to coaches, the things they say to the president of an organization, and I think getting to bring some light to that. You know, there's I follow on Facebook. There's a cheeseburger Facebook page, and it's mainly geared towards soccer. And so they always show a whole lot of video of parents, the way parents act at soccer games, and it's kind of bringing light to the way some of these parents act. And so for me, in just all the years I've been doing this, I know you get to hear a lot of the stories at home, and I'm talking to, I get to talking to Tessa or talking to your mom about it, but getting to kind of bring some of those stories to light and just, because again, we're not here to hurt feelings, but if your feelings get hurt, we're probably talking about you. And so for me, I think, as your mom says, I'm extra and I have a lot to say. And so now I get to build my own platform to have a lot to say. I get to build my own platform to tell some of the stories, and if nothing else, hope that a parent hears this and sees this and is like, you know what, he's right. I don't need to act that way. Or he's right. I didn't understand what it meant to be the president of an organization or what it meant to be the youth coach of an organization. And so kind of getting to bring some light to our side of it, because as a coach, you always just have to say, okay, yes, ma'am, okay, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. And you just go on as a coach. But I'm getting to kind of bring some of that to light. And it's been fun as I've told people about it. I know you've heard me talk about it a lot over the last month or two. But as I've told other coaches and other people what I'm doing, it is so funny how fast they say, can I come on and talk? Because every coach has a story. And so as these episodes go on, we'll kind of evolve it into different things. But we definitely have a lot of stories. And I think the biggest reason I wanted to do it is I just wanted to kind of tell our side of the story. Bring some awareness to people of what we have to deal with, and I wanted to talk about the community we've built in our throughout our program. You're not nervous. I know Dayton B behind the camera there. When I first told him some of the things I was going to say, his face kind of turned real red, and he was like, "Are you worried about people being mad?" Rook, when we were talking about it, he's like, "You worried about people not liking you anymore?" And I'm not, man. Everybody knows who I am. Everybody around here knows who I am. Everybody knows that I'm not shy with words. I don't shy away from a conversation. And
Unmuted.
I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm unmuted. We're going to be unmuted. So if if like and subscribe to our podcast, we have TikTok, we have YouTube. What else we got, Dayton B? Instagram. We have Instagram. We have Facebook. Working on Spotify and Apple right now. Silent Bleachers, Loud Opinions. SBLO? That's another kind of little thing we're rolling with right now. And so like and follow us, because I promise week after week it's going to get better. Our little studio here at our sports facility, it's going to get better. It's things are going to evolve. We're at some point going to get nicer chairs than our marketplace $3 chairs. We might even get a little table out here in front of us. You never know. And so we're going to definitely grow this podcast and grow as we go, grow as we learn. If you want to be a part of it, hey, you want to sponsor it? You want to jump on and be with us?
If you want your picture of your company right there, you sponsor, and everyone will see your company. Get about 500 people to come to your store.
Yeah. We might have to have a Rook segment on this podcast. I like it, my little marketing man over here. So again, like and share. I promise you're going to be entertained as we get through this.
Also, about a month, we're coming out with merch. If you want to support it and tell people that they need to come watch it if they're not acting right or if they're saying some stuff they shouldn't be to coaches, come buy it and give it to them.
I like it. We're going to have a little merch, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, you going to help with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Rook, marketing man, we got the master behind the camera over there. You got the dancing bear, and now we got the marketing man. I like it. All right, Rook. Okay.
This is how we do it.